Hi guys, welcome back to my channel, The Ink the Reader. Today I am filming my June TBR. It seems like this year has flown by as usual. It's crazy to think that I am filming the June one. As always, I'm gonna generate a random number with my with the number of shelves that I have behind me, and I'm gonna attempt to read all the unread books or the majority of the unread books on that shelf, depending on how much I can read in the month. And yeah, I've done this a bunch of times, so you probably are familiar with the rules, and if you don't, I'm gonna leave down below the initial video, although I've slightly modified the rules in the months, in the sense that I'm not accumulating books. If I don't read them all, I will just put them back on the shelf. But apart from that, most of the rules are the same, so you can check that out if you want. I'm gonna also include in here my TBR for comics, so graphic novel and manga, but I'm gonna put this at the end, so vice versa what I've done last month. As always, I'm gonna show you the final number if the first one is not the correct one. I am gonna input 21, which is the amount of shelves I've got behind me. However, because we are in the second year of these TBR, so I've been doing it for a year and a half, the majority of the shelves are already done, so it takes a while to come up with a final answer, with a final actual shelf. So I'm going to show you the first one, and then if it's not the right one, it's a shelf that I've already read, I'm just going to show you the one that eventually comes out. Let's do it again.
Eventually.
Okay, we have a winner, number 10, which is this shelf here that you can see here. The majority of things on here I believe I've read, but I'm gonna get a closer look, and we're gonna look at all the books I've got in here, and we're gonna look at what I've read and what I have still yet to read. Okay, so this is the shelf. If you hear some noises in the background, is my tripod moving around, is a bit clunky. So here we got these, and then we got these. I love how these sprayed edges will come together. Okay, so let's go back to here and see what I've read and what not. I'm going to show you. Oh, actually, I'm very excited about this one. No Longer Human, I've not read. I've read the manga version, which stands right there, by Junji Ito. But I've not read the original material, which was based on the manga. So, yeah. I've also not read the next one, which is Merciless by Daniel Vega. I own this for a decade now, almost. It looks lovely. I love this section. Like, pink is not my favorite color. However, this kind of pink I love, and I love this shelf in particular. Like, I don't know, I love the aesthetic of it. This is Lewis Carroll, Alice's Adventures in Wonderland, and other short stories, which I've already read. And this is the leather-bound special edition by Barton Novels, I believe. I found it in Waterstone, I believe. But yeah, the Mad Hatter, lovely book, but definitely don't have to read this chunk of a book. Once Upon a Broken Heart, I definitely have read, and this is the third special edition. So no, not having to read these. Another with sprayed edges, but not from Fairy Loot. The Devouring Grey, I've not read, so it's happening. It ends with Us. I'm scared about reading this one. I've heard a lot of mixed things, and I've not read a Hoover book in eons, so we will see how it goes, but it's time for me to attempt or DNF and get rid of. Oh, another very summery read, Crazy Rich Asians. I was waiting to read these so I can then watch a movie, but yeah, I've not read this. This one, actually, the original cover stays on the back, just because I love this so much. It's the same, but it's just without writing or anything. So Bloodshine I have read. This is another favorite edition, so I don't need to read it. Actually, let's leave it like that, because it's pretty. I'm just gonna do this for now, but I'm gonna put it back after. Magic Steeped in Poison. This is a cover by, and also lilac pages, so I have read these, which I turned around the cover from my favorite edition. Look at me, the ink papers, like inner paper, so cool. And this is the sequel. So this is The Ballad of Nether After, signed by the author of third edition. In love. Yeah, I have read this one. I've not read this one. Born Wicked. I have read Always and Forever Lara Jean. I have read, this is one of the few actually Goodreads giveaway when they were still open to the UK. Ouch. But must have heard that I have won through Goodreads, and has amazing sprayed edges. But also I love the cover art. For a long time I didn't know how to display it. I can really appreciate how beautiful this is, and I didn't particularly love the story. But this book looks so stunning that I didn't care. Like, it's just majestic. So happy to have won the giveaway. But yeah, I have read this one. I might think about displaying this in a different way at some point. Sorry, fighting the shelves. Let's move a bit. Okay, we have moved a bit so we can cover this other part. Betty, I've read one of the best reads, most devastating reads I've ever had the pleasure of actually reading. I read it last year. I have read Unhinged, I believe. Yeah, I have. Second book in a trilogy. Of Blood is the first series. It's the first book in a series that I have read, and it was kind of enjoyable. Oh yeah, it's number 1. So I have read this one. I don't know if to read this one. I've actually read the majority of these. So I have read this stunning edition of Dune. I have read Daughter of the Moon Goddess. Another stunning Fairly editions. One of my favorite ones. I have recently read The Last Tale of a Flower Bride. Stunning pages. Didn't love the book at all. And I have read another one by Fairly, Spells for Forgetting by Julian Young. And I have didn't love this one, but I love the pages so much, so I kept these. And lastly, the last book on here, which I've not read, I'm so looking forward to, is The Boy, the Mole and the Fox and the Horse. And it's a children's book. Now, looking at these ones, I was way better at keeping up with my favorite releases, and I want to get back to it. Just this year has been too crazy, but yeah, look, as you can see, the majority are still there, but I've got 8 books that I need to get around to read. Okay, I think this is a kind shelf in the sense I've got 8 books to read from here, and maybe I can catch up with my fairy loot for this month, which wouldn't be bad, because I've just mentioned this while showing you the shelf that I had a good record of keeping up with the releases of fairy loot, and this year, since January, I mostly struggled or failed completely in doing so. I'm reading a tiny bit less than last year. I'm gonna show you the 8 books that I've got here, and then when I do my unboxing of Fairy Loot, then of course those will be included in my official TBR. Will I get around to them? I don't know, but I'm gonna attempt. So we got, first of all, The Boy, the Mole, the Fox and the Horse. This is a book that has no synopsis, so I don't know exactly what this is about. However, I know this is a children's book and it's illustrated, so I know this is gonna be like a half an hour read. So I've heard amazing things about this book. A lot of people were extremely touched by the story, they cried, they had the whole experience. So yeah, looking forward to have my heart broken, I guess. Okay, the next one is a YA, and I have a record for DNFing them. So these I owned and found in a charity shop a long time ago. It's time for me to give it a try if I can, if I get around to it, and then decide if it's a DNF or if I like it. This is Born Wicked, which is just a YA fantasy, first in a trilogy, I believe. This is the Kyle Witch Chronicles, and it's about these sisters. They are witches, but they need to keep it hid from society, otherwise they will be chased, imprisoned, and I guess killed by the brothers, these cult or this bunch of people that just don't like witches much. So yeah, it's a YA. I guess there's some romance and some witchery stuff in it. It's been mostly a fail, any YA witch story I've tried to read in the last years. So yeah, don't have high expectations about this, but we will see. An adult fantasy actually is Magic Steeped in Poison. I have hauled these not too long ago, if I remember correctly. I don't know much about these. I just know that it's about this girl that enters a tea competition, and she does so in order to have like a favor from the princess of the kingdom, and with that favor she aims to save her sister, who is dying due to a poison tea that she ingested, and their mother has already passed away because of his poison tea, and now our main protagonist, she wants to save the sister basically. And yeah, tea competition. I don't even drink tea. It doesn't sound like my cup of tea. However, if the writing clicks with me and if the story clicks with me, the plot and everything else, then I can justify this cover buy. This was a cover buy, I'm not gonna lie. I just saw it and I just grabbed it and that was it. Crazy Rich Asians. This is a kind of popular movie, I believe, and I don't know if it's a series, a trilogy, or what it is. It's a contemporary about this girl that has met the love of her life and now he's taking her to meet his family, and she thinks it's just gonna be like a normal family vacation. And instead, when they get to Singapore, she finds out that her boyfriend's family is extremely rich, and I'm imagining she doesn't come from a rich background, so there is a cultural shock, but there is also the shock of finding yourself among like incredible wealth, and I guess there is family drama and stuff like that going down. It sounds like it's a very cozy summer read, so perfect for June if England graces me with some sunshine. Now, the synopsis of this, I don't think tackles some of the themes that I remember, but I'm also possibly confusing two of Hoover's novels, because I remember that this was about this girl that's trying to enter a new relationship after she had a previous relationship that was very abusive, and now the abuser has come back in her life somehow, so she's trying to juggling the new relationship and her past, but could be completely wrong, because apparently in the synopsis it doesn't mention any previous abuse, it just mentions an old boyfriend resurfacing and coming back while our main protagonist is trying to have this new relationship with the professor, I believe. So we will see. I heard that it's a very shocking book, but I don't know, I've not read a romance in ages and I'm not really reaching out for them. I'm not a big romance reader. I used to be though, so let's see if this can spark some old memories of when I used to enjoy the romance books. Okay, then I've got The Devouring Grey. This is a YA, if I'm not mistaken. It's kind of a thriller, suspense, fantasy novel. This is about this girl that is uprooted from her city when she used to live to go and move back into rural New York, where her family has actually helped found this rural town. And she meets other kids that descend from founding families, and there are a string of bodies that start appearing in the woods, and my guess is that the founding family have something to do with this mystery possibly, or have some magic that can help resolve this murder mystery ongoing. I don't know anything else about this. I don't want to go in too much into the synopsis. It sounds very supernaturally, which I love, the TV show. It sounds like it could be like a murder mystery woven in. We will see. Love the pages. The Merciless. I have no recollection whatsoever of what this is actually about. In the back it just says, "Forgive us, Father, for we have sinned." I remember this is a horror YA about a bunch of girls trying to sacrifice someone else, but this could be completely wrong because I am literally going with what I remember from eons ago. So I could be wrong, but I just remember it's about girls trying to make a sacrifice to the devil or something of the sort, which sounds amazing. So I'm here for it. I hope I'll be disturbed as much as possible for a YA horror. And finally, probably the one that I'm the most looking forward to this month, really, honestly, is No Longer Human. And this is a Japanese novel. And I have read and loved the Junji Ito manga adaptation of these, and I'm imagining this is pretty much the same concept, where you follow this protagonist that he really struggles to understand humans. He doesn't have much empathy and he doesn't understand how humans operate, and so he fakes it, he masks it by becoming the clown in his high school, so everyone goes to him to have a laugh and they think he's perfectly adjusted while he feels very alienated from everybody else around him, and he's trying to understand the human condition, pretending to be this clown, but deeply inside feeling very empty. Now of course Ito, he made it into a horror manga. There are a lot of horror elements in here, but I think this is likely to be more of like a literature fiction with very dark themes in it, but they also feel like themes that I might have seen in my everyday job, and I think some trigger warning around suicide or attempted suicide actually. So yeah, I'm actually looking forward to read a dark literature fiction. Okay, when it comes down to the manga and graphic novels, this is my TBR, which is fairly contained compared to other months, because I am noticing that I am struggling to read like 12, 13 stuff in terms of comics, if I want to read my books as well. So yeah, I'm gonna have a bit more contained one, but I might have leftovers from the other month. I also want to apologize, or kind of, I know that some of my TBRs and wrap-ups can get a bit tedious just because I'm reading a volume a month of a lot of series, and therefore, like, you know, there are series that are a million volumes long, so each month I'm just reading a volume of that and reviewing it shortly. I know this is not something that it's ideal, but I don't or rarely binge whole series, because especially if I love them, I like to pace myself and just digest a volume a month, or maybe 2 volumes a month. So for now, this is what's working for me, but do let me know if you hate it too much, because I might just not do it for a whole series, or just wrap it up when the whole series is done. So just get a general feedback of how you're viewing these monthly single volume reviews, basically. Yeah, just to hear from you. Doesn't mean that I will change necessarily the way I do things, but I'm definitely open to ideas, or, you know, your feedback in general. Okay, so I'm gonna start with a few things that I will order, or I've already ordered, that are not here yet. So I'm continuing on with Monstrous, with volume 5 of a graphic novel, steampunk, high fantasy, dark fantasy, very popular comic that has amazing art style. You follow Micah. She is arcanic, but she looks human, and arcanics are this race that has in history been against or pitched against humans for now centuries and centuries. There had been a war prior, and then something major, a major event, ended the war, but now there is no real peace, and the war is about to come back. And we follow Micah, as I said, and Micah, she is trying to navigate this world on the brink of war again, but she's also trying to find out the artifacts of a special mask that her mother gave her life in order to pursue and find. There are gods, creatures, there are arcanics, there are part animals, there are humans, then witches. It's a bunch of lore and creatures that I am really loving now that I'm rereading and continue on with the series. I've got half a mind, if I can, depends on the pricing, we will see, to actually read 2 volumes of The Sandman and be done with the series, because I feel like I've been dragging this long enough. So I might read just one, but I might attempt to read both. And this is an episodic, sort of episodic with a general plot, horror graphic novel, very popular, from the 90s, I believe, written by Neil Gaiman and illustrated by a bunch of illustrators. And you follow in the first volume, especially Morpheus, the god of dreams, have been captured instead of his sister Death, and now after a bunch of years, decades, has found again his freedom, and you just follow him along in navigating humans' lives, human dreams, and it's way more complex than what I could ever explain in my own words. The TV show, I guess it gives you an idea what the actual graphic novel is about, but the graphic novel is a bit of a staple that I've been sometimes liking, sometimes just tolerating, but I do want to finish it and see, and eventually maybe one day reread it in another in a better state of mind to read The Sandman. But it's definitely been a weird experience that I am now ready to finish, if it makes sense. So I'm actually gonna read 3 things by this author. 2 I have ordered that are not here yet. One is Look Back. This is a standalone manga, and it's about these 2 girls. They're both manga artists. They both love drawing manga, and they're very different personalities, but I guess they are struggling with their lives as artists and with their relationships, and they meet. And I don't know anything else about this, but I want to read everything that he put out, so I'm gonna read this one. And then I'm also reading by him another collection of short stories. He has already one out, which I've read a month ago, I believe, and wrapped up. and I really enjoyed it, so I did want to check out the other one, which is called 2226. And I'm also continuing on with his other series, Fire Punch. This is volume number 4, so I'm halfway through with these because it's a total of 8 volumes. This is a series he wrote before he wrote Chainsaw Man, and it's the story of Annie and his sister. Initially they live in this dystopian fantastic world. It's very bleak because in this world some humans have powers, and now a witch has used their powers to freeze over the whole world. So people are starving and dying, and Onion and his sister are keeping their village, their small village, alive in a way that I don't want to say because I think it's a bit spoilery. And so they are keeping their village alive, they're trying to, you know, make ends meet, and it's a very horrific, horrible world to live in. And then tragedy struck again, and Anya has to go on a big journey, a big journey of revenge. This is a very hopeless series that I'm not sure how it's gonna finish, because as usual for Fujimoto there is that kind of weird eccentric element to it that in this case, in this particular series, comes with someone filming and making a film of Annie revenge story, which at times feels very odd for the setting that we are in, but also because of it's Fujimoto, you can blend that in a way that's still working somehow. But I don't know where this is going. I can't see this going anywhere positive, to be honest. And although I'm not loving this as much as I loved Chainsaw Man, I'm still very much looking forward to read this. I'm also continuing on with Doradoro volume 6, and this is one of my favorite current ongoing series. Ongoing that I am currently reading, but it's finished. It's 23 volumes in total, and this is another horror fantasy manga where you follow our main protagonist who has been transformed in a lizard, trying to find the sorcerer who has transformed him, and so he can regain the memories of his past life. In this world you've got sorcerer, dark sorcerer, they live in a different part of the world, like there's a portal to their world, and then there are the humans living in misery that are used as experiment basically from the sorcerer. And our main protagonist is one of those experiments, gone wrong, gone right, I don't know how we would describe it. And you follow both sides, so you follow, you know, the bad guys, and you follow our main protagonist, and I just love everything about these, the mind of this woman creating these. I am restraining myself from checking out her new series, which is called Q or something, I don't remember exactly. So I'm restraining myself because I would like to finish these before trying her new series, but I don't know if we'll hold on to that promise of waiting before I finish these to check out the next one. We will see. A feel-good series that I am currently reading. This is The Time I Got Reincarnated as a Slime. Initially I believe this was actually a novel that then was adapted in a manga, correct me if I'm wrong. This is just the story of this middle-aged, almost middle-aged man, 40-ish years old man, that one day saves his colleague from a street brawl, and he ends up stabbed and he ends up dying and reincarnating in a slime creature in a fantastical world where he goes on adventures. And yeah, it reminds me a lot when I used to play World of Warcraft. That was a drug that consumed part of my life when I was in my early 20s, and it reminds me of that kind of, you know, you have a quest and you go on a quest, which is, to be honest, is something that in my manga or comics in general I don't particularly like, the episodic nature of it. Like after a while it just gets boring. It's not like I hate it or anything, but it just doesn't hold my interest, and so I guess that's why I struggled in volume 2. But I do own the box set of the first 6 volumes, so I definitely want to continue on, at least reading the volumes I do own. And to be fair, it's so funny that it's still a very good time, so I might like end up giving it 3 stars, but I don't hate it by any means. And the last thing I'm gonna read this month is Vinland Saga book 4. This contains 2 normal volumes. I believe I might have finished or might be finishing the first arc with these, and I might do like a spoilery review for the first arc of Vinland Saga, which I'm absolutely loving. This is a historical fiction manga, and you follow a bunch of characters, but our main protagonist, I guess, is Thorfinn, whose father's been murdered in front of him by an enemy clan, a Viking enemy clan, and now this clan has actually adopted him and raised him, and he wants to actually learn how to fight from his enemy, from the guy who killed his father, so then he can beat him fair and square in a duel, in a challenge, and you follow at the same time the Viking expanding, invading lands in the pursuit of finding the Vinland, the perfect idealistic land, and invading England and so forth. And you follow a bunch of other characters that actually I love, and it's so atmospheric and the characters really stuck with me. So yeah, looking forward to continue on with this. Okay guys, that's it. It feels like a very meek month compared to other months before that I had, but I think it's what I need just to kind of slow down a bit with the amount of things I put on my TBR, just because I can see that I'm constantly failing, and although I understand it's just a hobby, it's not a big deal, I still hold myself accountable for those. So yeah, it's actually good that it's somehow contained. Let me know what you're gonna read in June. What are your plans for June? And if you've read any of the stuff that are on my TBR, I would like to know what you thought about them without spoiling anything. But yeah, take care of yourself. I'll see you next time. Ciao!